The Columbia Network takes pleasure in bringing you Suspense. Suspense, Columbia's parade of outstanding thrillers, the notable melodramas from stage and screen, fiction and radio, presented each week to bring you to the edge of your chair, to keep you in suspense. A story doesn't have to appeal to the heart, it can also appeal to the spine. Sometimes you want your heart to be warmed, and sometimes you want your spine to tingle. The tingling, it's to be hoped, will be quite audible as you listen tonight to The Hitchhiker. Time of the play is the early 1940s.
I'm in an auto camp on Route 66, just west of Gallup, New Mexico. If I tell it, maybe it will help me. It will keep me from going crazy. But I must tell this quickly. I am not crazy now. I feel perfectly well. Perfectly well, except I am running a slight temperature. My name is Ronnie Adams. I'm 36 years of age, unmarried, tall, with obviously long blonde hair. I drive a 1940 Ford F8, license number 6B7989. I was born in Brooklyn. All this I know. I know I'm at this moment perfectly sane. That it is not me that's gone mad. That's something else, something utterly beyond my control. But I must speak quickly. At any moment, the link with my life may break. This may be the last thing I ever tell on Earth, the last night I ever see the stars. 6 days ago, I left Brooklyn to drive to California.
Goodbye, daughter. Good luck to you.
Goodbye, Mother. Here, give me a kiss and then I'll go.
I'll come out with you to the car.
No, it's raining. Stay in here at the door. Hey, what's this? Tears? I thought you promised me you wouldn't cry.
I know, dear. I'm sorry, but I do hate to see you go.
Well, I'll be back. I'll only be on the coast 3 months.
Oh, it isn't that. It's just the trip, Ronnie. I wish you weren't driving.
Oh, Mom, there you go again. People do this every day.
I know, but you'll be careful, won't you? Promise me you'll be extra careful. Don't fall asleep or drive fast or pick up any strangers on the road.
Lord, no. You'd think I was still 17 to hear you talk.
And wire me as soon as you get to California, won't you?
Of course I will. Now don't you worry. There isn't anything going to happen. It's just 8 days of perfectly simple driving on smooth, decent, civilized roads with a hot dog or a hamburger stand every 10 miles. I was in excellent spirits. Drive ahead, even the loneliness seems like a lark. But I reckoned without him. Crossing the Brooklyn Bridge that morning in the rain, I saw a man leaning against the cables. He seemed to be waiting for a lift. There were spots of fresh rain on his shoulders. He was carrying a cheap overnight bag in one hand. He was thin, nondescript, with a cap pulled down over his eyes. He stepped off the walk, and if I hadn't swerved, I'd have hit him. I almost did. Almost did. Now, I would have forgotten him completely, except that just an hour later, while crossing the Pulaski Skyway over the Jersey Flats, I saw him again. At least he looked like the same person. He was standing now with one thumb pointed west. I couldn't figure out how he'd gotten there, but I thought maybe one of those fast trucks had picked him up, beaten me to the Skyway, and let him off. I didn't stop for him. Then late that night, I saw him again. It was on the new Pennsylvania Turnpike between Harrisburg and Pittsburgh. It's 265 miles long with a very high speed limit. I was just slowing down for one of the tunnels when I saw him standing under an arch light by the side of the road. I could see him quite distinctly. The bag, the cap, the spots of fresh rain splattered over his shoulders. He hailed me this time.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
I stepped on the gas like a shot. It's lonely country through the Alleghenies, and I had no intention of stopping. Besides, the coincidences, or whatever it was, gave me the heebie-jeebies. I stopped at the next gas station.
Yes, ma'am.
Fill her up, will you?
Certainly, ma'am. Check your oil, ma'am.
No, thanks.
Nice night, ain't it?
Yes, it is. It hasn't been raining here recently, has it?
Not a drop of rain all week.
I suppose that hasn't done your business any harm.
Nah, people drive through here all kinds of weather. Mostly business, though. Ain't many pleasure cars out on the turnpike this season of the year.
I guess not. What about hitchhikers?
Hitchhikers? Here?
Why? What's the matter? Don't you ever see any?
A guy'd be a fool to start out hitchhiking on this road. Look at it. It's 265 miles long. There's practically no speed limit. And it's a straightaway. Now, what car is going to stop to pick up a guy under those conditions? Would you?
No. Then you've never seen anybody?
Nope. Maybe they get a lift before the turnpike starts. I mean, you know, just before the toll house. But then it's a mighty long ride. Most cars wouldn't pick up a guy for that long a ride. And you know, this is pretty lonesome country here. Mountains and woods. You ain't seen nobody like that, have you?
No. Oh, no. It's just a technical question.
Oh, I see. Well, that'll be $1.49 with the tax.
The thing gradually passed from my mind as a coincidence. I had a good night's sleep in Pittsburgh. I didn't think about the man all the next day until just outside of Zanesville, Ohio. I saw him again. It was a bright, sunshiny afternoon. The peaceful Ohio fields, brown with the autumn stubble, lay dreaming in the golden light. I was driving slowly, drinking it in, when the road suddenly ended in a detour. In front of the barrier, he was standing. Let me explain about his appearance before I go on. I repeat, there was nothing sinister about him. He was as drab as a mud fence. Nor was his attitude menacing. He merely stood there waiting, almost drooping a little, the cheap overnight bag in his hand. He looked as though he'd been waiting there for hours, and he hailed me. He started to walk forward.
Hello.
I'd stopped the car, of course, for the detour. For a few minutes, I couldn't seem to find the new road. I realized that he must be thinking that I'd stopped for him.
Hello.
No, not just now. I'm sorry.
Going to California?
No, not today. I'm going to New York. Sorry. After I got the car back on the road again, I felt like a complete fool. Yet the thought of picking him up, of having him sit beside me, was somehow unbearable. Yet at the same time, I felt more than ever unspeakably alone. Hour after hour went by. The fields, the towns, ticked off one by one. The lights changed. I knew now that I was going to see him again, and though I dreaded the sight, I caught myself searching the side of the road, waiting for him to appear.
Yep. What is it? What you want?
You sell sandwiches and pop here, don't ya?
Yep. We do in the daytime, but we're closed up for the night.
I know, but I was wondering if you could possibly let me have a cup of coffee. Black coffee?
Not at this time of night, mister. My husband's the cook and he's in bed. Maybe further down the road at the Honeysuckle Rest.
No, don't shut the door. Listen, just a minute ago, there was a man standing here right beside the stand. And a suspicious looking man.
Harriet! Who is it, Harriet?
It's nobody, Pops. Just a woman thinks she wants a cup of coffee. Go back to bed.
I don't mean to disturb you, but you see, I was driving along when I just happened to look, and there he was.
What was he doing?
Nothing. He ran off when I stopped the car.
Then what of it? That's nothing to wake someone in the middle of her sleep about. Young lady, I've got a good mind to turn you over to the sheriff.
But
You've been taking a nip. That's what you've been doing. And you haven't got anything better to do than wake decent folk out of their hard-earned sleep. Now get going. Get on.
It looked as though he was going to rob you.
I ain't got nothing in this stand to lose. Now on your way before I call out Sheriff Oakes.
I got into the car again and drove on slowly. I was beginning to hate the car. If I could have found a place to rest a little, but I was in the Ozark Mountains of Missouri now. The few resort places there were closed. I had seen him at that roadside stand. I knew I'd seen him again. Maybe at the next turn of the road. I knew that was when I saw him next. I knew that when I saw him next, I'd run him down. But I didn't see him again until late the next afternoon. I had stopped the car at a sleepy little junction just across the border into Oklahoma to let a train pass by when he appeared across the tracks. He was leaning against a telephone pole. It was a perfectly airless, dry day. The red clay of Oklahoma was baking under the southwestern sun. Yet there were spots of fresh rain on his shoulders. I couldn't stand that. Without thinking, blindly, I started the car across the tracks. He didn't even look up at me. He was staring at the ground. I stepped on the gas hard, veering the wheels sharply toward him. I could hear the train in the distance now, but I didn't care. Then, something went wrong with the car. It stalled right on the tracks. The train was coming closer. I could hear its bell, its cry, its whistle cry, crying. Still, he stood there. Now I knew that he was beckoning me to my death. Well, I frustrated him that time. The starter had worked at last. I managed to back up. But after the train passed, he was gone, and I was all alone in the hot, dry afternoon. After that, I knew I had to do something. I didn't know who this man was or what he wanted of me. I only knew that from now on, I mustn't let myself be alone on the road for 1 minute. Hello there. Hello. Like a ride?
What do you think? How far are you going?
Amarillo. I'll take you to Amarillo.
Amarillo? Texas?
Yeah, I'll drive you there.
Gee.
Hop in.
Mind if I take off my shoes? My dogs are killing me.
No, go right ahead.
Ah, gee, what a break this is. A swell car, a decent gal, driving me all the way to Amarillo. All I've been getting so far is trucks.
Hitchhike much?
Sure, only it's tough sometimes in these great open spaces to get the breaks.
Yeah, I think it would be. But I'll bet, though, if you got a good pickup in a fast car, you could get places faster than, well, say another person in another car.
I don't get you.
Well, you take me, for instance. Suppose I'm driving across the country at a nice steady clip of about 45 miles an hour. Couldn't a guy like you, just standing beside the road waiting for the lifts, beat me to town after town, provided he got picked up every time in a car that was doing 65 or 70 miles an hour?
I don't know. Maybe he could. Maybe he couldn't. What difference does it make?
Oh, no difference. It's just this crazy idea I had sitting here in the car.
Oh, imagine that. Spending your time in a swell car thinking of things like that.
What would you do instead?
What would I do? If I was a good-looking lady like yourself, why, I'd just enjoy myself every minute of the time. I'd sit back and relax. And if I saw a good-looking guy along the side of the road, hey, look out!
Did you see him too?
See who?
That man, standing beside the barbed wire fence.
I didn't see anybody.
Right there.
It was nothing. Just a barbed wire fence. What do you think he was doing trying to run into that barbed wire fence?
There was a man there, I tell you. A thin, gray man with an overnight bag in his hand. I was trying to run him down.
Run him down? You mean kill him?
He's sort of a phantom. I'm trying to get rid of him, or at least prove that he's real. But you say that you didn't see him back there? Are you sure?
I didn't see a soul. And as far as that's concerned, lady...
Well, watch for him. Watch for him the next time and keep watching. Keep your eyes peeled on the road. He'll turn up again, maybe any minute now. There, look there.
How's this door work? I'm getting out of here.
Did you see him that time? Did you see him?
No, I didn't see him that time. And personally, lady, I don't expect to ever see him. All I want to do is go on living. And I don't see how I'll be doing that very long, driving with you.
Look, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. Please don't go.
So, if you'll excuse me, lady.
Please? You can't go. Listen, how'd you like to go to California? I'll drive you all the way to California.
Seeing pink elephants all the way? No thanks.
Listen, please. Just 1 minute?
You know what I think you need? Just a good dose of sleep. There, I got it now.
No, you can't go!
Leave your hands off me. Do you hear? Leave your hands off me.
Come back here, please! Come back! He ran from me as if I was some kind of monster. A few minutes later, I saw a passing truck pick him up, and I knew then that I was utterly alone. I was in the heart of the great Texas prairies. There wasn't a car on the road after the truck went by. Tried to figure out what to do, how to get hold of myself. If I could find a place to rest, or even if I could sleep right here in the car, just a few hours, get some sleep just alongside the road. I was getting my winter overcoat out of the back seat to use as a blanket, just as a blanket, when I saw him coming toward me, emerging from the herd of moving steers. I didn't wait for him to come any closer. Maybe I should have spoken to him then, fought it out then and there. And now he began to be everywhere. Whenever I stopped, even for a minute, for gas, for oil, for a drink of pop, a cup of coffee, a sandwich, he was there. I saw him standing outside the auto camp in Amarillo that night when I dared to slow down. He was standing near the drinking fountain at a little camping spot just inside the border of New Mexico. He was waiting for me outside the Navajo reservation, where I'd stopped to check my tires. I saw him in Albuquerque, where I bought 10 gallons of gas. I was afraid now, afraid to stop. I began to drive faster and faster. I was in a lunar landscape now, the great arid mesa country of New Mexico. I drove through it with the indifference of a fly crawling over the face of the moon. But now he didn't even wait for me to stop. Unless I drove at 85 miles an hour over those endless roads, he waited for me at every other mile. I could see his figure, shadowless, flitting before me, still in its same attitude over the still and lifeless ground, flitting over dried up rivers, over broken stones cast up by old glacial upheavals, flitting into the pure and cloudless air. I was beside myself when I finally reached Gallup, New Mexico this morning. There's an auto camp here. It's cold, almost deserted this time of year. I went inside and asked if there was a telephone. I had the feeling that if I could speak to somebody familiar, somebody that I loved, I could pull myself together.
Number, please.
Long distance.
Thank you. This is long distance.
I'd like to put in a call to my home, to Brooklyn, New York. I'm Veronica Adams. The number is Beechwood 20828.
Thank you. Thank you. What is your number?
My number? It's 312.
Gallup, New Mexico, calling Beechwood 20828.
I'd read somewhere that love could banish demons. It was the middle of the morning. I knew Mother'd be home. I pictured her tall, white-haired, in the crisp house dress, going about her tasks. It'd be enough, I thought, just to hear the even calmness of her voice.
Will you please deposit $3.85 for the first 3 minutes? When you have deposited $1.50, will you wait until I've collected the money? All right. Please deposit another $1.50. Will you please deposit the remaining 85 cents? Ready with Brooklyn. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Adams' residence.
Hello, Mother?
This is Mrs. Adams' residence. Who is it you wish to speak to, please?
Why, who's this?
This is Mrs. Whitney.
Ms. Whitney? Why, I don't know any Ms. Whitney. Is this Beechwood 20828?
Yes.
Where's my mother? Where's Miss Adams?
Mrs. Adams is not at home. She's still in the hospital.
The hospital?
Yes, who is this calling, please? Is this a member of the family?
What's she in the hospital for?
She's been prostrated for 5 days. A nervous breakdown. Who is this calling?
A nervous breakdown? My mother was never nervous.
It's all taken place since the death of her oldest daughter, Ronnie.
The death of her oldest daughter, Ronnie? Hey, what is this? What number is this?
This is Beechwood 20828. It's all been very sudden. She was killed 6 days ago in an automobile accident on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Your 3 minutes are up, ma'am. Your 3 minutes are up, ma'am. Your 3 minutes are up, Ma'am? Ma'am, 3 minutes are up. Your 3 minutes are up, ma'am?
And so I'm sitting here in this deserted auto camp in Gallup, New Mexico. And so I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get a hold of myself. Otherwise, I'll go crazy. Outside, it is night, the vast soulless night of New Mexico. A million stars are in the sky. Ahead of me stretch 1,000 miles of empty mesa and mountains, prairies, desert. Somewhere among them, he is waiting for me. Somewhere. Somewhere I shall know who he is and who I am.